My favorite part of the song. Yes, I know. That's my
Okay.
favorite part of the song, where he's gonna rap. It's so funny. Okay.
Are we
Wow.
ready? Extra episode. Well, it's not really an episode. It's just an
Woo!
extra video.
What?
I said it's not really an episode, just an extra video.
Nah. Look
We
at the
are
nails.
currently
Sorry.
we are currently reading Twisted Love. I have read it before. Anique
I have not.
hasn't. So yeah, if you want, read along. Let's see what's gonna happen.
Yes, and if you want to know what happens in the chapter 1, watch the other video.
Yeah, watch episode 3.
Yes.
Should I start or
Who ended?
I did, but it's fine.
You can
Whatever.
go.
Okay. Chapter 2. Alex. Wait, I need to... Okay, we're back. Whoa. There was something in my throat.
You good there?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
We should take this somewhere more private. The blonde trailed her fingers down my arm, her hazel eyes bright with invitation as she swiped her tongue over her bottom lip. Or not, whatever you're into. My
Ew.
lips curved, not enough to classify as a smile, but enough to broadcast my thoughts. You can't handle what I'm into. Despite her short, tight dress and suggestive words, she looked like the type who expected sweet nothings and lovemaking in bed. I didn't do sweet nothings or lovemaking. I fucked. I always said it. We should have a word for this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. We're Dutch, okay? We say these words, but for the internet's sake, we should have a word for that.
Cuddling.
No. I'll just say we effed or something.
Yeah, just say I F a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just do that. Okay. I effed a certain way, and only a specific type of woman was into that shit. Not hardcore BDSM, but not soft. No kissing, no face-to-face contact. Women agreed, then tried to change it up halfway through, after which I'd stop and show them the door. I have no tolerance for people who can't keep a simple agreement. That was why I stuck to a roster of familiar rotating names when I needed a release. Both sides knew what to expect. The blonde was not making it in onto that roster. Not tonight. I swirled the ice in my glass. It's my friend's. I can't speak. It's my friend's farewell party. She followed my gaze towards Josh, who was basking in female attention of his own. He sprawled on the couch, one of the few remaining pieces of furniture after he'd packed the house up in anticipation of his year abroad, and grinned while 3 women fawned over him. He'd always been the charming one. While I put people on edge, he put them at ease, and his approach toward the fairer sex was the opposite of mine. The more the merrier, according to Josh. He'd probably have half the DC metro area's female population by now. He can join too. The blonde edged closer until her
Melons.
until her melons grazed my arm. I don't mind. Same, her friend, a petite brunette who had been quiet up till now, but who eyed me like I was a juicy steak since I walked in the door, piped up. Listen, I do everything together. The insinuation couldn't have been clearer had she tattooed it across her exposed cleavage. Most guys would have jumped at the opportunity, but I was already bored with the conversation. Nothing turned me off more than desperation, which reeked stronger than their perfume. I didn't bother answering. I didn't bother answering. Instead, I scanned the room for something more interesting to hold my attention. If it were a party for anyone else but Josh, I would have skipped it. Between my job as COO of the Archer Group and my side project, I had enough on my plate without attending pointless social gatherings. But Josh was my best friend, one of the few people whose company I could stand for more than an hour at a time. And he was leaving Monday for his gap year as a medical volunteer in Central America. So here I was, pretending like I actually wanted to be here. A silvery laugh peeled through the air, drawing my eyes toward the source. Ava, of course. Josh's little sister was so sweet and sunshiny all the time. I half expected flowers to sprout on the ground wherever she walked, and a coterie of singing woodland animals to trail behind her while she traipsed through meadows or whatever girls like her did. She stood in a corner with her friends, her face bright with animation as she laughed at something one of them said. I wondered if it was a real laugh or a fake laugh. Hell, most people, were fake. They woke up every morning and put on a mask according to what they wanted that day and who they wanted the world to see. They smiled at people they hated, laughed at jokes that weren't funny, and kissed the asses of those they secretly hoped to dethrone. I wasn't judging. Like everyone else, I had my masks and they ran layers deep. But unlike everyone else, I had as much interest in ass kissing and small talk as I did in injecting bleach into my veins. Knowing Ava, her laugh was real. Poor girl. The world would eat her alive when she left the tire bubble. Not my problem. Yo, Josh appeared beside me. His hair tousled and his mouth stretched into a wide grin. His hangers on were nowhere. Wait, nope. There they were, dancing to Beyonce like they were auditioning for a gig at the Strip Angel, while a circle of guys watched them with their tongues lolling out. Men. My gender could use a little more standards and a little less thinking with their small head. Thanks for
He's not
showing up, man. Sorry I haven't said hi till now. I've been busy. I arched an eyebrow at the lipstick print smeared on the corner of his mouth. You have a little something on your face. His grin widened. Badge of honor. Speaking of which, I'm not interrupting, am I? I glanced at the blonde and brunette who'd moved on to making out with each other after failing to capture my interest. No, I shook my head. $100 says she won't survive the full year in bum Ave nowhere. No women, no parties. You'll be back before Halloween. Oh, year of little faith. There'll be women and the party is wherever I am. Josh swiped an unopened beer from a nearby cooler and cracked it open. I actually wanted to talk to you about that, me being gone, he clarified. Don't tell me you're getting sentimental on me. If you bought us friendship bracelets, I'm out. F you, dude, he laughed. I wouldn't buy your ass jewelry if you paid me. No, this is about Ava. My glass paused an inch from my lips before I brought it home, and a sweet burn of whiskey flowed down my throat. I hate beer. It tastes like piss. But since it was a drink du jour at Josh's parties, I always brought a flask of Macallan whenever I visited. What about her? Josh and his sister were close, even if they bickered so much. I wanted to duct tape that. Whoa, that sentence. I need to say that again. I stopped halfway. Sorry. Josh and his sister were close. Even if they bickered so much, I wanted to duct tape their mouths sometimes. That was the nature of sibling, something I never quite gotten to experience. The whiskey turned sour in my mouth, and I set my glass down with a grimace. I'm worried about her. Josh rubbed a hand over his jaw, his expression growing serious. I know she's a big girl and can take care of herself, unless she's getting stranded in the middle of effing nowhere. Thanks for picking her up, by the way. But she's never been on her own for so long, and she can be a little too trusting. I had an inkling of where Josh was going with this, and I didn't like it at all. She won't be alone. She has her friends. I inclined my head towards said friends. One of them, a curvy redhead in a gold skirt that made her look like a disco ball, chose that moment to hop onto the table and shake her ass to the rap song blasting through the speakers. George snorted. Snorted. Jesus. Jules, she's a liability, not help. Stella is as trusting as Ava, and Bridget, well, she has security, but she's not around as much. You don't need to worry. Thai is safe, and the crime rate here is close to zero. Yeah, but I'd feel better if I had someone I trusted looking after her, you know? Fuck. I'm just gonna say it, I'm sorry.
In this sentence is fine.
I
In the
have
other
to.
one, worse. Yeah. F.
Yeah. The train was heading straight off a cliff, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I wouldn't ask. I know you've got a lot of shit going on, but she broke up with her ex a couple of weeks ago and he's been harassing her. I always knew he was a little shit, but he wouldn't listen to me. She wouldn't listen to me. Anyway, if you could keep an eye on her just to make sure she doesn't get killed or kidnapped or anything, I'd owe you big. You already owe me for all those times I saved your ass, I said wryly. You had fun while doing it. You're too uptight sometimes, Josh grinned. So, is that a yes? I glanced at Ava again, took her in. She was 22, 4 years younger than Josh and me, and she managed to appear both younger and older than her years. It was the way she carried herself, like she'd seen it all, the good, the bad, the downright ugly, and still believed in goodness. It was as stupid as it was admirable. Your turn.
Yeah. Hey, she's my age. Now I feel relatable. She must have felt me staring because she paused her conversation and looked directly at me. Her cheeks tinting pink, okay, tinting pink at my unflinching gaze. She changed out of her jeans and t-shirt into a purple dress that swirled around her knees. Too bad. The dress was nice, but my mind flashed back to our car ride when her damp shirt had clung to her like a second skin and her
You
nipples had
didn't
strained.
look, huh?
Yeah, cheeky cheeky. And her nipples had strained against the decadent red lace of her bra. I meant what I'd said about her not being my type, but I'd enjoyed the view. I could imagine myself lifting that shirt, tucking her bra aside with my teeth, and closing my mouth around those sweet, heartened. Never mind. I jacked myself.
Ooh, is that what happens when you read on your own as well? You get
Yes,
embarrassed at the spicy scenes?
sometimes yes,
Really? I just have a straight face.
but like I can imagine what it's gonna be like because I've had a relationship, so I'm just like I'm someone who has pictures in their mind when they read
I
something, so
don't.
I'm just like picturing it, and then I'm just like, oh, that's
Do you
awkward.
have can you also, if you close your eyes right now, can you, if I say imagine a red apple, can you see it when you close your
Yes,
eyes? I
yes,
can't. There's nothing.
and just black.
Yeah, it really is.
No, I can see it.
It sucks
So
that I don't
reading
have
those
that.
scenes is just it adds an extra level of
I
intimacy.
can I can try and imagine it, but like with the red apple, I can't see anything. So
Yeah, it's funny how different brain works sometimes. Okay,
okay,
where
continue.
was I? Huh?
The peaks.
Oh yeah, peaks. I janked myself.
I
I
yanked.
janked myself out of the yanked myself out of that startling fantasy fast. What the f was wrong with me? That was Josh's sister, innocent, dew-eyed, and so sweet I could throw up. The total opposite of the sophisticated, jetted woman I preferred both in and out of bed. I didn't have to worry about feelings with the latter. They knew better than to develop any around me. Ava was nothing but feelings, with a hint of sass. A ghost of a smile passed over my mouth when I remembered her parting shot earlier. I hope that stick in your ass punctures a vital organ. Not the worst thing anyone said to me, not by a long shot, but more aggressive than I'd expected coming from her. I never heard her say a bad word to or about anyone before. I took perversive pleasure in the fact that I could rile her up so much. Alex, Josh prompted. I don't know, man. I dragged my eyes away from Ava and her purple dress. I'm not much of a babysitter. Good thing she's not a baby, he quipped. Look, I know this is a big this is a big ask, and you're the only person I trust not to, you know, F her. Jesus, dude. Josh looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. Don't use that word in relation to my sister. It's gross. But yeah, I mean, we both know she's not your type, and even if she was, you'd never go there. A sliver of guilt flashed through me when I remembered my errant fantasy a few moments ago. It was time for me to call up someone for my roster if I was fantasizing about Ava Chen, of all people. But it's more than that, Josh continued. You're the only person I trust, period, outside of my family. And you know how worried I am about Ava, especially considering this whole thing with her ex. His face darkened. I swear, if I ever see that ever, I signed. I'll take care of her. Don't worry. I was going to regret this. I knew it. Yet, here I was, signing my life away, at least for the next year. I didn't make a lot of promises, but when I did, I kept them. Committed myself to them. Which meant if I promised Josh I'd look after Ava, I'd effing look after her. And I'm not talking about a text check in every 2 weeks. She was under my protection now. Ah, yes! Ooh, I like it! A familiar creeping sense of doom slithered around my neck and squeezed. tighter and tighter until oxygen ran scarce and thin lights danced before my eyes. Blood everywhere, on my hands, on my clothes, splattered over the cream rug she'd loved so much, the one she'd brought back from Europe on her last trip abroad. An inner urge to scrub the rug and tear those bloody particles out of the soft wool fibers, one by one, gripped me, but I couldn't move. All I could do was stand and stare at the grotesque scene in my living
Grotesque.
room. Grotesque. A room which not half an hour earlier had burst with warmth and laughter and love, now was cold and lifeless, like the three bodies at my feet. Is that his family or did he kill people? Ooh, I like him. Okay. I blinked and they disappeared. The lights, the memories, the noose around my neck. But they'd come back. They always did. You're the best, Josh was saying, his grin back now that I'd agreed to take on a role I had no business taking. I wasn't a protector, I was a destroyer. I broke hearts, crushed business opponents, and didn't care about the aftermath. If someone was stupid enough to fall for me or cross me, two things I warned people never, ever to do, they had it coming. I'll bring you back I don't know, coffee, chocolate, pounds or whatever is good down there, and I owe you a big, fat favor in the future. I forced a smile. Before I could respond, my phone rang, and I held up a finger. Be right back. I have to take this. Take your time, man. Josh was already distracted by the blonde and brunette who'd been all over me earlier and who found a much more willing audience in my best friend. By the time I stepped into the backyard and answered my call, they had their hands beneath his shirt. Yeah.
Ja, snoepjes.
What?
Ja, snoepjes.
Nee. What are you doing?
Zet je in mijn auto.
I got a Ferrari, guys. Woohoo! Thanks, Pop.
Dat was heel random.
Heb je nog snoepjes? Nee. Oké, dan geef ik mijn auto. Oké, pap, thanks. Oké, where was I? Oh yeah, how do I...
Yeah, I don't know.
Go. Sorry if I offended anyone. I said, using the Ukrainian term for uncle. He's Ukrainian? I thought he was Chinese.
This is Alex.
I don't know why. Huh?
Alex Volkov? Does that sound Chinese?
No. I don't know why I thought that. Never mind. Alex. My uncle's voice rasped over the line, scratchy from decades of cigarettes and the wear and tear of life. I hope I'm not interrupting. No. I glanced through the sliding glass door at the revelry inside. Josh had lived in the same rambling two-story house of Thayer's campus and since undergrad. We'd roomed together until I graduated and moved to DC proper to be closer to my office and to get away from the hordes of shrieking, drunken college students that paraded through campus and the surrounding neighborhoods every night. Everyone had turned out for Josh's farewell party, and by everyone, I mean half the population of Hazelburg, Maryland, where Thayer was located. He was a town favorite, and I imagined people would miss his parties as much as they missed Josh himself. For someone who also always claimed to be drowning in schoolwork, he found a lot of time for drinking and sex. Not that it hurt his academic performances. The bastard had a 4.0 GPA. Did you take care of the problem? My uncle asked. I heard a drawer open and close, followed by the faint click of a lighter. I'd urged him to quit smoking, countless times, but he always brushed me off. Old habits die hard. Old, bad habits, even more so, and Ivan Volkov had reached the age where he couldn't be bothered. Not yet. The moon hung low in the sky, casting ribbons of light that snaked through the otherwise inky darkness of the backyard. Light and shadow, two halves of the same coin. I will. We're close. To justice, vengeance, salvation. For 16 years, the pursuit of these three things had consumed me. They were my every waking thought, my dream and nightmare, my every dream and nightmare, my reason for living. Even in situations when I'd been distracted by something else, the chess play of corporation politics, the fleeting pleasure of burying myself into the tight, warm heat of a willing body, They lurked me in my consciousness, driving me to greater heights of ambition and ruthlessness. 16 years might seem like a long time, but I specialize in the long game. It doesn't matter how many years I have to wait as long as the end is worth it. And the end of the man who had destroyed my family, it will be glorious. Good, my uncle coughed and my lips pinched. One of these days I'd convince him to stop smoking. Life had quit smoking, but that's fine. Life had driven any
Totality.
sentimentality,
Yes.
Jesus, out of me years ago. But Ivan was my only living relative. He took me in, raised me as his own, and stuck by me through every thorny twist of my path toward revenge. So I owed him that much at least. Your family will be at peace soon, he said. Perhaps. Whether the same could be said of me, well, that was a question for another day. There's a board meeting next week, I said, switching topics. I'll be in town for the day. My uncle was the official CEO of Archer Group, the real estate development company he'd founded a decade ago with my guidance. I'd had a knack for business even as a teenager. Archer Group headquarters called Philadelphia home, but it had offices across the country. Since I was based in DC, that was the company's real power center, though board meetings still took place at HQ. I could have taken over as CEO years ago per my uncle's and my agreement when we started the company, but the COO position offered me more flexibility until I finished what I had to do. Besides, everyone knew I was the power behind the throne anyway. Ivan was a decent CEO, but it was my strategies that had catapulted it into the Fortune 500 after a mere decade. He was 10 when his parents died?
He was young.
Damn. My uncle and I talked business for a while longer before I hung up and rejoined the party. The gears in my head cranked into motion as I stuck off the evening's developments. My
As
promise
I
to
took
Josh.
stock off.
Huh?
As I took stock off. You said as I stuck off.
Oh, as I took stock off. Sorry. My promise to Josh, my uncle's nudge about the minor hiccup in my revenge plan. Somehow I had to reconcile the two over the next year. I mentally rearranged the pieces of my life into different patterns, playing each scenario out to the end, weighing the pros and cons, and examining them for potential cracks until I reached a decision. Everything good? Josh called out from the couch where the blonde kissed his neck while the brunette's hands became intimately acquainted with the red gown below his belt. Joyful. Yes. to my to my irritation, my gaze straight toward Ava again. She was in the kitchen, fuzzing over the half-eaten cake from Crumble and Bake. Her tanned skin glowed with a faint sheen of sweat from dancing, and her raven hair billowed around her face in a soft cloud. About your earlier request, I have an idea. Your turn.
Chapter 3. Ava. I'll drop the book, okay. I hope you appreciate what a good friend I am, Jules yawned as we trumped across our front yard toward Josh's house. For waking up at the butt crack of dawn to help your brother clean and pack when I don't even like the dude. I laughed and looped my arm through hers. I'll buy you a caramel mocha from the morning roast after. Promise. Yeah, she paused. Large with extra crunch toppings? You know it. Fine. Jules yawned again. That makes it somewhat worth it. Jules and Josh were not fans of each other. I'd always found that strange, considering they were so similar. They were both outgoing, charming, smart as hell, and total heartbreakers. Jules was a human version of Jessica Rabbit, all shiny red hair, creamy skin, and curves that made me look at my body with a sigh. Overall, I was happy with how I looked, but as a member of the itty bitty titty committee, I did wish for an extra cup size or two without having to resort to plastic surgery.
Yeah,
Ironically,
girl.
Jules sometimes complained about her double Ds, saying they were hard on her back. There should be a Venmo for breasts that allows women to send and receive cup sizes with the press of a button.
Would
Like
be
I
nice.
said, I was happy with how I looked most of the time, but no one, not even supermodels or movie stars, was immune from insecurities. Beside her grievances with her breasts, Jules was the most confident person I'd ever met, aside from my brother, whose ego was so large it could house the entire east coast of the United States with room left over for Texas. I suppose he had reason to be, considering he'd always been the golden boy, and though it pained me to admit it, because he was my brother, he wasn't bad looking either. 6'2" with thick black hair and razor sharp bone structure, which he never let anyone forget. I was convinced Josh would commission a sculpture of himself and display it on his front lawn if he could. Jules and Josh never divulged why they disliked each other so much, but I suspected it might be because they saw too much of themselves in each other. The front door was already open, so we didn't bother knocking. To my surprise, the house was pretty clean. Josh had put most of his furniture into storage last week, and the only things left to pack were the couch, which someone would pick up later, a few stray kitchen items, and a weird abstract painting in the living room. Josh? My voice echoed in the large empty space while Jules sat on the ground and pulled her knees to her chest with a grumpy expression. If you couldn't tell, she wasn't a morning person. Where are you? Bedroom. I heard a loud thump upstairs, followed by a muffled curse. A minute later, Josh came down, holding a large cardboard box. Shit, I'm donating, he explained, setting it on the kitchen counter. I wrinkled my nose. Put a shirt on, please. And deprive JR of her morning eye candy? Josh smirked. I'm not that cruel. What did you drop?
Nothing, I just
Oh.
shifted.
Oh. I wasn't the only one who thought Jules looked like Jessica Rabbit. Josh always called her by the cartoon character's initials, which pissed her off to no end. Then again, everything Josh did pissed her off. Jules lifted her head and scowled. Please, I've seen better abs at the campus gym. Listen to Ava and put her shirt on before I lose last night's dinner. Methinks the lady doth protest too much, George drawled, slapping a hand against his six-pack. The only thing you'll be losing is... Okay, I slashed my arms through the air, cutting off the conversation before it went down a path that scarred me for life. Enough chit-chat. Let's get you packed up before you miss your flight. Fortunately, Josh and Jules behaved for the next hour and a half while we packed up the remaining items and loaded them into the SUV he'd rented for the move. Soon the only thing left to pack was the painting. Tell me you're donating this too. I eyed the massive canvas. I don't even know how it'll fit in the car. Nah, leave it here. He likes it. Who? As far as I knew, no one had taken over Josh's lease yet. But it was still July and expected the place to go fast closer to the start of the semester. You'll see. I didn't like the smile on his face at all. The low purr of a powerful engine filled the air. Josh's smile broadened. As a matter of fact, you'll see right now. George, Jules and I exchanged glances before we ran to the front door and pushed it open. A familiar Aston Martin idled in the driveway. The door opened and Alex stepped out, looking more gorgeous than any human had the right to look in jeans, aviators, and black button-down shirt with sleeves rolled up. He took off his sunglasses and assessed us with cool eyes, unfazed by the mini welcoming party on the front steps. Only I didn't feel particularly welcoming. But that's Alex, I stammered. Looking mighty fine, might I add. Jules nudged me in the ribs, and I scowled in response. Who cared if he was hot? He was a jerk. Hey, dude, Josh slapped hands with Alex. Where's your stuff? Movie companies bringing it later. Alex side-eyed Jules, who assessed him the way one would a shiny new toy. Besides Josh, Alex was the only guy who had never fallen for her charms, which intrigued her more. She was a sucker for a good challenge, probably because most guys fell at her feet before she even opened her mouth. Wait, I put my hand up, my heart slamming a panicked rhythm against my ribcage. You're not moving here. Actually, he is. Josh slung an arm over my shoulder, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Meet your new neighbor, little sis. My eyes ping-ponged between him and Alex, who couldn't look more bored by the conversation. No, that was the only one reason Alex Volkov would leave his cushy DC penthouse and move back to Hazelburg. And I bet my new camera it had nothing to do with nostalgia for his college days. No, 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 no. Yes, 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 yes. I glared at my brother. I don't need a babysitter. I'm 22 years old. Who said anything about babysitting? Josh shrugged. He's looking after the house for me. I'm moving back in when I return next year, so it makes sense. Bullshit. You want him to keep an eye on me. That's a bonus, Josh's face softened. It doesn't hurt to have someone you can rely on when I'm not here, especially given the whole thing with Liam. I winced at the mention of my ex. Liam had been blowing up my phone since I caught him cheating on me a month and a half ago. He'd even shown up at the gallery where I worked a few times, begging for another chance. I wasn't devastated by our breakup. We dated for a few months and I hadn't been in love with him or anything, but the situation had brought all my insecurities to the surface. Josh was worried about Liam getting out of hand, but let's be honest, Liam was a Brooks brother wearing, polo playing trust fund baby. I doubted he'd do anything that would mess up his perfectly gelled hair. I was more embarrassed I dated him than concerned about my physical safety. I can handle myself. I pulled Josh's arm off my shoulder. Call the moving company and cancel, I told Alex, who'd been ignoring us and scrolling through his phone this whole time. You do not need to move here. Don't you have stuff to do in DC? DC is a 20-minute drive, he said without looking up. For the record, I am totally in favor of you moving in next door, Jules piped up. Traitor. Do you mow the lawn shirtless? If not, I highly recommend it. Alex and Josh frowned at the same time. You, Josh pointed a finger at her, do not pull any of your shenanigans while I'm gone. It's cute how you think you have a say in my life. I don't give a shit what you do with your life. It's when you drag Ava into your harebrained schemes I'm concerned. Newsflash, you don't have a say in Ava's life either. She's her own person. She's my sister. She's my best friend. Remember when you almost got her arrested? You have to let that go. That was 3 years ago. People! I pressed my fingers to my temple. Dealing with Josh and Jules was like dealing with children. Stop arguing. Josh, stop trying to control my life. Jules, stop provoking him. Josh crossed his arms over his chest. As your big brother, it's my job to protect you and to appoint someone to fill in for me when I'm not here. I grew up with him. I recognized the look on his face. He wasn't budging. I assume Alex is the fill-in? I asked in a resigned tone. I'm not a fill-in anything, Alex said icily. I don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything stupid and we'll be fine. I groaned and covered my face with my hands. This was gonna be a long year.
Exciting. I like it.
Shall we stop here and continue another day?
Okay, fine.
I know you want to finish the whole book now, but
yes.
We can't do that. We can put a 5-hour video on YouTube just reading. We can't.
Shit.
What do you think so far?
I like it. It's like one of those things that you don't want to put down when you once you started it.
I know I had that when I started the series as well. But I started with book 2. Yeah.
Can you read them separately?
Yeah. You can.
Oh. Okay.
But it's recommended to read them in order, so.
I like to read things in order, so I'll read them in order. I might start reading like more of it now, and then I just already know what's gonna happen when we read it. What? No.
I don't want that to happen.
I don't think you have any say in my life.
Yes, I do. Because then we're not going to be making a video for this.
Okay, fine. I'll put it
You can read other books.
Yes, but I want to read this one now.
I know, but in the meantime, read something else.
So we'll read the rest tomorrow?
Depends the time, but sure.
We could just make a couple and then post them separately.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
But I do have to leave after this. I have more to do.
Yeah, me too. It's fine. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
No. If you're watching this and you want to read along, catch up. And then we will continue from chapter 4. I had to check that. Okay. See you next time with an extra video.
Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Comment.
Yes.
What should they comment?
Which side?
Like that.
That's the wrong side. For me, that's the wrong side.
No, you do the other hand for you, and I'll do this, and maybe it'll line up. I don't know. No.
No, but you're on my screen. You're on this side. You're on my left side.
I don't know. It gets different when I edit. I don't know what happens.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Okay.
It's funny. Okay.
What should they comment?
What should they comment? What they think of the book and which they want to read us next.
Oh, we're gonna finish the series.
Duh. I just need to buy them first because I only bought this one.
Okay, well, we're not even halfway done. So you have time.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, bye. See you later.